Yeah, a very good morning to one and all. And today concept is about compiler construction tools. And after knowing the basic fundamentals of the compilers and knowing about how the various phases of compilation is going to be carried out, and now we're going to learn about some of the tools of the compilers. Those we're calling it as an compiler construction tools. Before going to learn in detail about these tools, initially we have to know what the features of the compilers are. What the features of the compilers, because we already learned about what the definition of the compiler and the fundamental things about the compilers, and knowing about the various phases of the compilers with a brief example. By knowing about all this, now we're going to define what the features of the good compilers are. And here we're having some of the features. Make a note of all these features what I am explaining now. And the first important feature about the compiler is compilers. What the good compilers? How we are calling them as in good compilers? The good compilers compiles the large amount of code in less time. Compiles the large amount of the code in an less time. That is one of the most important feature of the compiler. Compiling large amount of code in an less time. And what the second feature of the compiler is, compilers requires less amount of memory space. See, we are using the two terms like in time and space. Two terms like in time and space. And at the definition of the compiler, I explained there itself. Why we are taking the two terms time and space means to improve the efficiency of the code. Automatically, we are improving the time complexity and the space complexity. So the good compilers require less amount of memory space to compile the source language. Needs less amount of memory space to compile the source language. This we can consider it as an second feature of the compilers. This is an second feature of the compiler. What the first feature, again I'm repeating, compiling large amount of code in an less time is the first feature, and the second feature is requires less amount of memory space to compile the source code. Require less amount of memory space to compile the source code or source language, whatever it may be. We can call it as in source code or source language. And the third feature of this compiler is, of the good compiler is, the third feature of the good compiler is compile only the modified code. Compile only the modified code. That means what it means is, here compile only the modified code segment. What it means is, if frequent modifications are required in the source program, we are not no need to compile the entire program. Wherever we are doing the modifications, there itself we can compile. There itself we can compile. Then we'll get an good compilation. And the last feature of the compiler. When we call it is a good compiler, what the last feature of the compiler, here we are giving the reasons of this. What the last reason is, while handling the hardware interrupts, you all know what the interrupt meaning is. While handling the hardware interrupts, the good compiler interacts closely with the operating system. The good compiler interacts closely with the operating system, and these are the main important features of the good compilers. One is about large amount of compiling large amount of code in a less time, and the second one is about compiler requires less amount of memory space to compile the source language, and the third one is about compiler can compile only the modified code segment. Only the modified code segment. And the last one is about, while handling the hardware interrupts, the good compilers always interacts closely with the operating system. Good compilers always interacts closely with the operating system. These are the four main important features of the good compilers. After knowing about what the definition of the compiler and what the structure of the compiler, how we are representing the structure, and from that structure, how we are seeing the process of implementation of the source language to the target language, how the process of implementation is carried out between the source to target language by using various phases of the compilers. So after knowing the basic fundamentals of all these things, then we are going to define what the features of the good compiler is. So now, after knowing these four features of the good compilers, now we are going in detail learning about an compiler construction tools. Compiler construction tools, which is the most important concept in an unit number 1. Compiler construction tools. See here, see the slide all of you once. Here I shared you the slide where the slide consisting of some tools. Those are calling as an compiler construction tools. See what the first tool is, parser generator, and the second tool is a scanner generator, and the third one is a syntax directed translation engine, and the fourth one is an automatic code generator, and the fifth one is an data flow engines. How many phases we are having? How many phases we are having in the process of compilation? How many phases we implemented there? 6 phases. 6 phases. For each and every phase, we are using a tool from these construction tools. From these compiler tools, we are using these compiler tools and implementing each and every phase there itself. See, you all know syntax analyzer can also be called as a parser. So it produces an syntax. Scanner is a lexical analyzer, produces lexical analyzer. Syntax directed translation, and we are producing an intermediate code representation by using this syntax directed translation engine tool. And automatic code generator. Finally, we need an actual target code. So for generating that actual target code, we are using this automatic code generator tool. And the next one is a data flow engine. And to optimize, by applying the optimization techniques, I am in the sense here we are using the data flow engine as one of the compiler tool. We are using this tool and implementing the optimization techniques. I think you all understand how many construction tools that we are having in the compilers. Writing a compiler is a time consuming task. Is very harder to write on compilers. So for that, there are some specialized tools for helping in implementation of various phases of compilers. Those tools are nothing but compiler construction tools. Again, I'm repeating the point. Writing a compiler is very harder and very time consuming task. So for that, what we are doing here is there are some specialized tools for helping in implementation of various phases of compilers. These tools are called as compiler construction tools. These tools are also can be called as compiler tools. Here we're having different terminologies for calling these compiler construction tools, naming the compiler construction tools as again compiler tools, compiler generator tools, or translator writing system tools. Here we're having 3 terminologies. One is a compiler, another one is a compiler generator, and another one is a translator writing system tools. With the 3 different terminologies, we're naming the compiler construction tools. If the question is write about compiler tools, you need to write all these 6. Write about compiler generator tools, again you need to write the answer about all these. And write about translator writing system tools, all the 6. And explain or write about compiler construction tools, all these 5 tools you need to explain, you need to describe as an answer for the given question. And these are the various compiler construction tools. And here going to first construction tool, parser generator. Now we are learning briefly about each and every tool. Parser generator. This parser generator, we are calling this parser as an syntax analyzer. Syntax analyzer can also be called as an parser generator. And what we are doing here is this produces the syntax analyzer. By using this type of a tool like an parser generator, this produces the syntax analyzer. And the specification given to these generators is in the form of a context-free grammar. For example, I want to draw the tree structure and my input should be in the form of a context-free grammar. And the input should be in the form of a context-free grammar. That's why how we are describing here is the specification given to these generators given to these generators is in the form of an context-free grammar, CFG. Context-free grammar, CFG. Typically, what the tool that we are using here is ACK, YACC ACK, where this ACK is one of the building tool. I already explained in the last classes. Yet another compiler compiles. Yet another compiler compiles. This is an tool called as ACK, where it is having an utility of an Unix. Utility of an Unix, ACK tool. ACK tool, by using the ACK tool, we are producing the parser generators. We are producing the parsers. And that's about the parser generator. Here, what the things that we need to note down is, by using the tool like a parser generator, what type of an output that we are going to implement. That is the first thing. And which type of an tool that we are going to use it here, and where, what type of an specification that we are taking. Specification in the sense input in the form of, in which type that is the input that we are taking in the form of. So in the parser generator, the input should be in the form of a context-free grammar. That means the specification should be in the form of an context-free grammar. And by using the utilities of an Unix, here we are implementing an Unix YACK tool, YACC YACK tool, to produce the parsers. That's what about the parser generator. Now the second one, that is a scanner generator. Scanner generator. These generators generate the lexical analyzers. That means produces the lexical analyzers. The specification given to these are in the form of regular expressions. And you all know how to represent in context-free grammar. You all know how to represent an regular expression and regular definition and transition diagrams. All the things that you already learned in the last semester in the course like an flat. So again recalling all those about an context-free grammar, about the regular expression. By recalling all those, again we are implementing these tools. So the specification given to these generators are in the form of an regular expressions. And here the Unix has an utility for scanner generator called as LEX, LEX. For implementing these parser generators, we are using the tool like an LEX, LEX tool. This is also one of the building tool of compilers. In parser, we use the tool YACK, YACC. In scanner, we use the tool LEX, LEX. These are the two most important building tools while we are writing the compilers. And third one is about a syntax directed translation engine. In this tool, the parse tree is scanned completely to generate an intermediate code. The parse tree is parse tree, not a lexical analyzer. The parse tree is scanned completely to generate an intermediate code. And the translation is done for each node of the tree. For each and every node, we are performing some translations by using syntax directed translation schemas. So, and here what we are going to produce is, our output is in the form of in the intermediate code generator, intermediate code representation. The output is in the form of intermediate code representation. So taking the tool, the parse tree is scanned completely to generate an intermediate code. The translation is done for each node of the tree. And what the next tool is automatic code generator. Automatic code generator. What we are going to generate here, generating an actual code, that is a target code of the given input source code. See how the generator, how by using this tool, how the tool is going to be performed. What type of a task that the tool is going to be performed here. Automatic code generators, and these are the generators take an intermediate code as an input. Here I am taking the intermediate code as an input and converts each rule of intermediate language into its equivalent machine language. It was already shown in an example in the last class when we are learning about the various phases of compilation. At last we generated a target machine code, that I am explaining this target machine code by implementing the tool like an automatic code generator. As an intermediate code, taking an intermediate code as an input and converts each rule of intermediate language into equivalent machine language. What it means is the template machine technique is used here. The template of machine techniques are going to be implemented here. We are using the template of some machine techniques, and the intermediate code statements are replaced. Whatever the intermediate code statements that we are generating, all those statements are replaced templates that represent the corresponding sequence of machine instructions. See, by checking out the target language that we generated as a target code, by performing the reverse engineering, we checking out whether after performing the reverse engineering also, whether we are generating the source string or not, whether the correct source string is going to be generated or not. Just by doing the reverse engineering, we checking out that by doing an reverse engineering process. So we are representing the corresponding sequence of machine instructions there. That's what the task that is going to be performed by using the automatic code generator. And the last tool, that is the last compiler construction tool, here it is an data flow engine. This data flow analysis, what we are going to produce here, this data flow engine supports the optimization. What it means is the data flow analysis is required to perform good code optimization. Every time what the output that we need to generate is efficient target code. That means required to perform a good code optimization. And here these data flow engines are basically useful in generating the code optimization. That's about the data flow engine. This is the clear description about each and every tool. Here we're having 5 tools. The first one is a parser generator. The second one is a scanner. The third one is a syntax directed translation engine, and the next automatic code generator, and the next data flow engines. Explain about compiler construction tools, or give brief description about compiler construction tools, or what the compiler tools or compiler generator tools or translator writing system tools. For the questions of all this, the answer is these 5. The answer that we need to describe about all those questions is describing with these 5 tools. I think you all clear about this. One thing you should all of you make a note here. Parser is an syntax, scanner is an lexical, translation engine, syntax translation engine is nothing but an intermediate code. Code generator is nothing but an generating an actual code. Data flow engine is nothing but an supporting the optimization. Here in the parser generator, we are using YSEC ACT tool, implementing an ACT tool in parser, implementing an lex tool. Why? Because why we are only implementing these tools means these are the building tools for writing the compilers. So we are using these tools. One in an YAC in an parser and lex in an lexical analyzer. And here by using the tool like in syntax directed translation engine, we are representing an intermediate code. We are generating an intermediate code and generating an machine level instruction set, automatic code generator, and finally optimizing the code by using the data flow engine. And this is the clear explanation about the compiler construction tools, having the 5 construction tools here and describing about each and every construction tool in detail by giving an example in the sense what type of an utility that we are using, utility from where we are taking this, and what type of a specification we are using, and which tool you are implementing. These are the 3 most important things. For parser, the specification should be in the form of an context-free grammar. For lexical analyzer, that means, and for scanner, the specification should be in a regular expression. And for syntax directed translation engine, the specification should be in the form of an intermediate code representation. And for code generator, the specification should be in the form of an machine level instructions, machine instruction. And finally, for the optimization, again, here we are not producing an optimization by using the data flow engine as a tool. Just it is supports the optimization techniques. This data flow engine supports the optimization techniques. Make a note of this. Basically, it is useful for doing the optimization, performing the optimization. So again, here also it is in the specification is in the form of an intermediate code representation. That's it. This is about the compiler construction tools. A brief description about a compiler construction tools that are delivered in this class. And now we are going to learn The next concept that is about an bootstrapping. Bootstrapping. After knowing about the compiler construction tools, we are going to learn about the next concept that is about an bootstrapping. See here we're having a structure in the form of an T representation. By a single line, I am defining what the bootstrapping is. Compiling a compiler in its own language is nothing but an bootstrapping. Compiling a compiler in its own language. Compiling a compiler, again I am repeating the same thing. Compiling a compiler in its own language is nothing but an bootstrapping. And see here we are having the structure of this structure in the form of an T structure, where the T consisting of three languages. The representation of the T consisting of three languages. STI. S is nothing but an source, T is nothing but an target, I is nothing but an implementation language. I is nothing but an implementation language. Source, target. In between what we are doing? Implementation. It is an input program. S is an input, T is an target. That means high level language, machine level language. In between we are doing the process of compilation by implementation, by implementing. Implementation language. S is an source language, T is an target language. This is the representation by the structure in the form of an T, characterized into three languages. STI. What S is, it compiles. What T is, generates the code. What I is, here we're writing the compilers. In the place of I, we are writing the compilers. In the place of S, where compiles, and in the place of T, we generate the code. I think you all understand what the representation, and the representation consisting of three languages, what are those, and what S is, and what the T is, and what the I is. And again, with the definition of the compiler, like I'm compiling a compiler in its own language. Just I'm briefing it out now. This bootstrapping is a process in which simple language is used to translate more complicated program. And which in turn may handle far more complicated program. That means the meaning of compiling a compiler in its own language. I'm giving the meaning of this sentence. Compiling a compiler in its own language means process in which simple language is used to translate in a more complicated program, which in turn may handle far more complicated program. This complicated program can further handle even more complicated program, and so on. So that's why we are giving a simple line statement that compiling a compiler in its own language. So writing a compiler for any high level language is a complicated process. Writing a compiler for any high level language is a complicated process. It takes a lot of time to write a compiler from the scratch. Hence, here simple language is used to generate target code in some stages. To clearly making you to understand, this bootstrapping is a technique for generating the target code, for generating the target code for the simple languages. We are using this bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is a technique for generating the target code by using the simple languages. That's why bootstrapping is nothing but an compiling a compiler in its own language. And the structure of the bootstrapping is representing with an T structure, where the T structure consisting of all the three languages: source, target, and implementation. By using the source language, we can compile. By using the target language, we can generate the code. By using the implementation, we can write the compilers. See here, I am having an example for the bootstrapping. See, for example, here the source is an L, I implementation language is an P, A is an target. A is an target. Both the, I am compiling, this is in compiler 1, CLPA, compiler 1, PAA, compiler 2. Compiling compiler 1 and compiler 2, I am generating LAA, generating the target code, generating the code, other compiler LAA. This is about an bootstrapping. Now, the other compiler, that is an cross compiler. The other compiler, that is an cross compiler. Cross compiler means compiler that works on one platform and generates the code for the another. Working in one platform and generating the code in another platform. That is nothing but a cross. In the name itself, it is the crossing of the compilers. Crossing of the compilers. See here, basically the cross compiler is also in the form of the T structure. Also in the form of T structure as an bootstrapping. As an bootstrapping. See, L is an source, B is an target, again L is an implementation. In another compiler, L is an source, A is an target, and A is an implementation. And after compiling the both compilers, compiler 1 and compiler 2, what we are getting an output. That means here we are compiling these two in one platform and generating the code in another platform. See the representation here. Compiling compiler 1 and compiler 2, and we are generating the code LAB in another platform. These two compilers compiled in one platform, and we are generating the LAB in another platform. See, step number 2. For example, LLB, I am choosing here. What the L, what the B, what these letters are, you can choose yourself. It may be an XYZ. It may be an XYZ, whatever it may be. Whatever the variables, whatever the letters that you want, you can choose yourself. No, there is no problem here. But you need to define what the defining with some programming languages. Defining with some programming languages. For example, see here. Still, for example, here the L source is an C source in an C language, and this B in an ADA language, and I am implementing this source. Like that. If A is another language, choosing with another language, like either it may be a subset of this L, whatever it may be, you can choose yourself. But representing in the T structure, this L comes under an source, this B comes under an target, and L comes under an implementation. That's it. That's what the cross compiler is. Compiler which run on one machine and produces the target code for another machine. Such compiler is called as a cross compiler. Again, I am repeating here, compilers which run on one machine and produces the target code for another machine. Such a compiler can be called as a cross compiler. Why we need to use this cross compilers? Here we're having a question. What is the use of using this cross compilers? By using the cross compilation technique, platform independency can be achieved. To achieve the platform independency, we are using this cross compiler techniques. See, compiler 1, compiler 2, and I am generating an output in another platform with this compiler. And combining the two, compiler 1 and compiler 2, I am getting this. And now step 2. See the step 2. What the compiler 1, LLB is the compiler 1. What the compiler 2, LAB is in compiler 2. And what the output I am getting? See, see here we're having an color differentiation. What it means is, this is another platform. We are generating in another platform. Another platform, not a language, another platform. From one platform to the another. That means one machine to another machine. I am running a program in one machine, but I am generating my code in another machine. The meaning of the cross compiler is that. The meaning of the cross compiler is that. And this is about the definition of the cross compiler and the representation of the cross compiler. This may be asked for 2 marks question. What is in cross compiler and show the representation. What is in bootstrapping and show the representation. That's the definition and the structure is enough. No need to go in detail about how to implement this bootstrapping and how to implement this cross compilers. And if we have a question like this, explain about the types of compilers. Explain about the types of compilers. The one type of compiler is a cross compiler. One type of compiler is an cross compiler. We're having the another type of an compiler that is nothing but an incremental compiler. Incremental compiler. What the definition of incremental compiler is? This compiler performs the recompilation of only modified source rather than compiling the whole source program. See, getting the difference between what the cross compiler is. Cross compilers, what we're doing, compilers that works on one platform and generates the code for another platform. That is one type of an compiler. And another type of an compiler is an incremental compiler. Make a note of this. Incremental compiler is also an type of an compiler. And what type of an process is going in incremental compiler means which performs the recompilation. Underline the word recompilation, which performs the recompilation of only modified source rather than compiling the whole program. Rather than compiling the whole source program. That is the definition of incremental compiler. And by doing this, by performing this, what type of features that we get by performing the incremental compiler means the first one is compilation is effective for maintenance. The process of incremental compiler is effective for maintenance. This is the main thing, main term that we need to underline. Effective. To get an effective, to make the code effective, we are implementing these type of compilers. We are choosing these types of compilers. And by choosing the incremental compiler, automatically the process of incremental compilation is effective for maintenance. And to perform the recompilation, it takes less task. Performing the recompilation. Why? Because only for the modified source we are performing, not for the entire program. So it takes the less time and less space. And also it produces the same result as the full compiler execution. When we fully compile the program, whatever the output that we are getting, same output that we are getting while implementing the incremental compilers. These are the main features of the incremental compiler, where it is another type of the compiler. Types of compilers are, one is a cross compiler and the another one is an incremental compiler. And today's topic is about an compiler construction tools that I was delivered in this class, and I think you all understand the 5 construction tools of the compilers and what the different terminologies that we are having for or calling for those. And the next concept is about bootstrapping and the definition of the bootstrapping, and then the representation of the bootstrapping, and by seeing with an example. And the next is a cross compiler and the definition of cross compiler and the representations of the cross compiler. And the other compiler is an incremental compiler. Why? Because these two cross and incremental compiler comes under the types of compilers. And up to now I delivered these topics, and with this I am concluding this session.